Hey guys, it's Penguin here, and welcome back to another gold making video. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to make gold with the Garrison. Now, I'm very happy to say that I am joined by Sarah, aka Drizzling Rose, who is another content creator, mostly known for her Garrison Goldmaking. Now, this video will be slightly different, as it's going to be an interview style, where she just kind of talks about her experience with gold making through the Garrison, and just gives some additional insight and tips just in case you're interested in this method. Mostly this video is to highlight different ways to make gold, as normally this channel focuses strictly on crafting and most of the time current content crafting. Now with that being said, there is a little bit of background information that I want to talk about before getting straight into the interview. The first one is that this is not a step-by-step tutorial. Drizzling Rose is mostly known for her Miro board, which is a written out step-by-step guide that is available online. I will make sure that is linked in the description, and if you want a written out guide that goes from creating your character all the way to the final steps, that is going to be the place to look. It can get a little bit complicated and there's a lot of information. However, the style in which she relays the information is perfect for anybody to follow. So if you are interested by the end of this video, definitely go check that out. Also, I just want to give a little bit of background about the Garrison itself, because if you're newer to gold making or newer to the game in general, some of these might not be very clear to you. The first thing we're going to be talking about are Cards of Omen, which is a daily craft which has a daily cooldown from Inscription. The second thing we'll be talking about are Hexweave bags, which was the best in slot bag during Draenor, and it is crafted through tailoring. Then lastly, we have the Barn building. Now Garrisons are most known as they are basically build your own base. You have different empty building slots, which you can customize to your liking, and one of them is the Barn. What the Barn does is that you go out and you collect wolves, then you can bring them back and a work order happens, which is just, you gotta wait a little bit, and then the Barn will grant you materials. What you get from this is mostly sumptuous fur, and you can also get savage blood, which is yet again another crafting reagent. So you're gonna hear, those terms used throughout the video, and I just wanted to make sure that you have a little bit of background before getting started. And without further ado, please make sure to go follow Sarah on Twitter and, go check out her guide. I'm very thankful that she took time out of her day in order to talk to me, and I hope you enjoy the interview. So, first of all, would you like to do a little introduction of yourself? What do you enjoy doing, your background, who you are, stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. My name is Sarah. I go by the name Drizzling Rose online. I've been playing World of Warcraft since about the middle of Burning Crusade. And I've been mainly focusing on gold making since probably late Cataclysm. I mostly do daily crafting gold making, and that's sort of turned into focusing on the Garrison because there's a lot of daily crafting stuff in that specific area of the game.
Alright, awesome. So you just mentioned the Garrison, and why do you choose to make gold with the Garrison instead of more traditional routes like farming or doing, standard crafting?
It's an interesting question. It kind of bled into becoming the Garrison over time. Way back in Cataclysm, I only played my main. I had one character, and the way I made gold there was farming cloth and making bags, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I did a couple hours farming before school every day. And yeah, the bags just turned into in Mists of Pandaria, there was a daily cooldown to make the biggest bag, I believe, in that expansion. And I was like, if I fill my account out with characters to make this daily craft and just spend my time getting the reagents for that, I can log on every character every day and get a lot of gold for very little work. So I did that, and then the Garrison came out, and I was like, dang, I can do the same again. And it just sort of stuck, and now I'm doing it on 50 characters every day.
Yeah, that is quite a lot of tunes. So who would you say that this method is for?
I would say that this kind of gold making method is very good for people who have a little bit of time every day, but they don't have an awful lot of time every day. And then maybe you have a weekend or so. It's really nice for uh, when I did college or when I'm doing full-time work. It's easy to just spend half an hour every day doing the crafting, and then when you have some time off on the weekends, you can restock your characters. So it's very low effort when you don't have the time to use the extra effort.
Yeah, that's really nice. I know as somebody who does standard crafting, if you don't have, at least an hour or 2 hours a day, it can definitely get intense with having to restock everything.
Yeah, the repost posting can take a while, even with help from TSM.
Yeah, for sure. So, using this method, how much gold do you make a day? If you've ever calculated that before.
Yeah, it varies a little bit on how much I do the restocking and stuff. For me, gold making is satisfying when I get most, if not all, of the materials myself. So I like to go out and get the materials and then just have my characters slowly use them over time. As for gold per day, it's a little complicated, but with the Garrison, you can make an inscription craft and a tailoring craft every day. They give the inscription is pretty easy to calculate because the cards are render trash. And if you flip enough of them, the average turns into 4.6 gold per card. I've flipped 1.5 million cards since I started tracking them. So that's 180 gold per craft, per day, per character. And then the tailoring depends a little bit on the price of your hexweave bags on your server. Most of the time on my server, they're somewhere between 500 and 1,000 gold. So you're making 100 gold per craft if it's 500 and 200 gold if it's 1,000 gold. But then the wonderful thing about the Garrison is that you can also have profession buildings. And these, if you have a follower working in them, give about the same per day as your daily craft. So essentially, you can make 2 daily crafts per day, per character, and then it just scales up with more characters. And it's very modular, so you can just start off on a couple characters and then build on slowly over time. And then, of course, there's the barn, which you can use to supply your tailoring. And then you also get Savage Blood as a byproduct, which you, before the free patch, could sell to a vendor for 50 gold each. But now the vendor is bugged out, so it only gives you free silver. I think it's a bug because the bag's flavor text says that it gives a fair sum of gold, and free silver is not gold. And I don't think Blizzard would lie to the players like that. But I've been selling them to players on the auction house without any problems all of Shadowlands, so that's another 200 gold per day per character. TLDR, I'm making with 50 characters about 20 to 30,000 a day, and this is very easy. I log on, I click one craft macro, I click the other craft macro, I log off, and then once a week I refill the buildings and sell my stuff.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's a lot of gold for little time investment. And I know I'm somebody who buys the bloods for some old world enchanting crafts. So I can say that
Oh
they
yeah.
definitely do get bought. But you mentioned it takes a little bit of time, but do you know how long it would actually take you to complete those tasks every day?
I'm spending. I have timed myself quite a few times. On an average day, I spent 30 to 25 minutes doing my daily crafting. It's mostly loading time. With the computer I have and the add-ons I have on my old characters, it takes me about 6 to 10 seconds to log in, and it's literally log in, click craft 1 macro, click craft 2 macro, and the macros is just to craft the daily crafts. And then I click shift 1 to log out, and next character, and next. Yeah, if you had a faster computer, you could probably do it a lot faster. But in general, that's about it. About 30 minutes for a full account of 50. So if you only have 10 characters, it's going to take you 5 minutes or something. And then, of course, the restocking. I like to buy the herbs if they're cheap on the auction house. So it's almost 1-to-1. It's like 10 herbs to 9 cards or something like that. But in general, I just buy them whenever they're 2 gold or less, because then I'm making about 2.5 gold per card. And then, of course, the wolf farm, which technically takes the longest time, but I think you could probably do 200 to 400 wolves in an hour, and you're only spending 40 a week because of the work orders. So it's kind of like, how far do you want to be in stock of your crafting materials? But one barn can supply 8 characters. So if you have a full account of 50, you only really need to do the barn on 10-ish. So there's that, I guess.
Awesome, yeah. So, just to break it down for everybody, just in case they don't know exactly what the Garrison is, can you just give a quick overview of like exactly what you do on each character every single day?
Yeah, sure. So basically, what you need on the to do the Garrison Goldmaking is that you need to get tailoring and inscription to make hexweave bags and card of omens. You technically don't need inscription to make card of omens, because the card of omen NPC in your inscription building can make the cards for you, but the NPC in the tailoring building cannot make the bags for you. So you need to have tailoring if you want to make bags on that character. But essentially, you log on, you do the daily crafts, you log off, and then once a week, you restock them.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you have, 50 plus characters. Do you know how long it's taken you to get up to that level? And if somebody were to, want to start setting this up, how long do you think it would take them to set up, one toon?
Yeah, leveling itself is kind of a tricky one. I like leveling. I'm not an alcoholic. I can stop anytime I want. But yeah, with the level squish change, you can get to Draenor pretty fast. I think you only need to be level 10 or something. So you can set up like a basic level 2 garrison in an hour or two once you're level 10. And then like fully setting it up. The only thing that really bottlenecks you is the garrison resources. So what I would recommend doing is leveling a couple of characters at a time. So unlocking the garrison, so you start getting those garrison resources rolling in, and then locking in every 3 days to pick up those resources. And then over time you can level the characters. For me, I like the efficient leveling style of having a bunch of characters, getting rested, and then spending the rested on like a weekend. So, for example, I have 26 Mistweavers. The way I leveled them was just getting rested, and then every 2 weeks or so, I did 1 or 2 dungeons on each of them to spend the rest XP. And that's about it. And then slowly over time, they just increased in levels. And yeah, the wonderful thing about the Garrison Goldmaking method is it's very modular. So you don't need a ton of characters. You can just start with a few, and then get those up and rolling, and then do a couple more, and get those up and rolling, and just do it over time. There's never any rush, and you can. I think you only need level 10. And then you can just buy a portal to Ashran and learn the crafting what's it called? Crafting patterns there, and then start doing it every day to level the professions. My biggest tip is just unlock the garrison as fast as possible, so you start getting the resources, because those resources is the only bottleneck to building out your garrison.
Okay, awesome. So this is kind of a weird question, but let's say somebody, is starting their garrison and they might be a little bit overwhelmed or only want to focus on like one thing. If you had to only pick one method, whether that's inscription or the barn or creating bags, is there one that you would primarily focus on?
I think the easiest one is probably the cards, because you can use any of the warlords herbs for it, and you could get a herb garden if like okay, when you have as many characters as I have, the herb garden doesn't yield quite enough for my production. But if you only have a few characters, you could totally do the herb garden and get your herbs that way, and then you just mill them and turn them into cards. So I think the cards is the simplest one. It does take a little bit of time to flip them, but the flipping does scale with haste. So if you have like a twink with a bunch of haste on them, you could have that be your flipping character. I do have a character that flips all of my cards, and they have all the haste gear I could find, and it's quite a lot faster. If you want to really go all in on flipping speed, you could go to places where you get a haste buff, like Captain Cookie in the Dead Mines dungeon, and get 1000% haste, and then the opening of cards caps out at 10 per second. So if you can click your buttons that fast, you can open a bunch of cards very fast. It is very silly, but it's something you could do to make it a bit faster. And also, if you want to make it a bit more satisfying, in the guide at the inscription area, you can get a weak aura, and then get an like a sound pack that I made for it. So you have the guy from Hearthstone yell out whenever you get rare or epic cards. And
Oh, that's fun.
yeah, for me it's very satisfying when he just screams out rare, epic. And then I made the 6000 card legendary, even though it's technically not legendary in game.
That's actually a really cool addition. The guide, of course, is linked in the description, so if anybody's interested, feel free to pick up that weak aura. Alright, so the last question that I have for you, as if anybody has heard of you before, probably knows you best for your board that you have, that is a full breakdown of basically what we've been talking about. And so that will, of course, be in the description if anybody wants to know, have a written guide about how to start the garrison. But is there any special tip that you would like to share, whether it's included in the board or not included, that you think a beginner might really, really want to know?
Yeah, as for something, I'm not sure about beginner. It's more like an advanced user tip. It's something that I started dabbling in last December, but I'm still working on it, so I don't really have too much experience yet. Briefly mentioning there is the work table in the garrisons. You can get followers that increase your garrison resources from those missions by 200%. It's called Extreme Scavenger, I believe. If you get the inn, you can choose to get one of those every week. So it takes you 20 weeks to get a full set of mission NPCs, and I've been doing that since late December, early January, and I'm still leveling them, so I don't quite know if it's gonna be worth it in the long run. Like, if they nerf it in Dragonflight, it's just wasted time. But regardless, to my headcanon or headcount, one of the big resource missions. If you have 3 of the extreme scavenger NPCs, you could get enough materials to buy herbs and turn into cards, so that mission gives you 400 gold. So yeah, long term, if you want to do the mission table, you can, but personally I don't have too much experience. I've just set it up on 24 of my monks, so it's not something I know anything about yet, but maybe it can help with making the card more valuable compared to if you buy the herbs, for example. As for beginners, the whole thing about using the Miro board instead of just a written guide is that I myself am dyslexic, so I have a really hard time with just a wall of text. So that's why I thought Miro was a really good place to make a guide, because you can just do one box at a time. And that is what I recommend if you're interested in trying out Garrison Goldmaking. Take a look at the guide, do one box at a time, and just learn the steps. And if you just want to dabble a little bit in it, just ignore the whole barn thing in the start and just focus on the top third of the guide. Because the barn is where it gets complicated with going out and farming materials. You can probably buy it off the auction house pretty cheaply. But yeah, I'm rambling.
Yeah, that is perfect. I think being able, to hear somebody say like, all right, wait for this part can really help the overwhelming factor of setting everything up. But is there any final points that you would like to say that you think should be brought up that we haven't really talked about or anything like that?
Nothing really comes to mind that I think we need to include. My motto for gold making has always been that if you find something fun, the farm is worth it for you. So that's my number one tip for anyone regarding the Garrison gold making method or any other gold making method. Even if the gold per hour is not amazing, if you're having fun doing it, it's still good gold per hour. And that's kind of the thing that I enjoy with my niche. I've always seen myself as daily crafting gold making, and then it just turned into Garrisons, but Garrisons are just really good at the daily crafting stuff. If you're having fun doing that, where you spend a lot of time setting up and then just every day quickly log on and keep the factory going, if that you like that, that's perfect. If you're more of the person that like to just settle down and farm someplace for hours on end and then get the spoils of that instantly, or if you like to farm something rare and try to sell it over a long period of time for a high amount of gold, then you should focus on those things that you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy doing it, it's not sustainable in the long run, in my opinion.
I 100% agree. That is probably the best tip that we could have asked for. Like, if there's no point of doing anything if it's not enjoyable. So, thank you very much. I really do appreciate you, taking the time out of your day to talk and discuss, your gold making methods. And we will probably talk to you soon.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Twitter at Drizzling Rose. And as always, take care everyone, and happy gold making.